Right on. Right on. Thank you guys for the warm welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Creative Mornings for having me. I wish it was more like Creative Afternoons, but I, I'm sure you guys have heard that joke before. But we're doing good, considering there was a mosh pit where all of you are about 4 hours ago. It's been a good morning. So anyway, yeah, I'm AJ Brockman. As you all may be able to tell, I'm in a chair. I've been in a wheelchair my entire life since age 2. I have a condition called spinal muscular atrophy, and basically that means is my body doesn't produce a certain protein, and that is what eventually my muscles deteriorate because of that. It's basically a very long-term ALS for some of you that might be familiar with that. And it also means that I'm much better at sitting than all of you. So, but I've never let that hold me back. I've been creative my entire life. Even as a kid, was always either interested in art or around a camera. I grew up on the local section of the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon, helping raise money for MDA, which SMA is a neuromuscular disease. So I grew up in front of a camera. Every Labor Day, I would raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for MDA, and really fell in love with production then, more on the visual side. And again, just always super creative. I was actually had a bunch of friends that were skateboarders, and I wanted to hang out and be part of that. And obviously, I couldn't skateboard, so we had to figure out a way to make that happen. And what we did is I ended up strapping a camera to my wheelchair, and I would follow them around, and it made a perfect seamless jib wherever they were. And one thing led to another, and I was really committed to that. And we'll talk a lot about commitment today. But one thing led to another, and I ended up actually getting sponsored by a local skate shop to do their videos and editing. So even as a kid, I was always trying to find different ways to be involved. As I grew a little bit older, went to middle school. I was mainstreamed all throughout my life, all in regular ed classes. And I really fell in love with painting in middle school. I went to Duncan Middle right here in Northern County, and I had a really great teacher, Miss Chiavelli, and she ran the painting club. And there, I still had the use of my hands a little bit more than I do now. I could paint and draw traditionally, so that was really great. I have a lot of my original paintings still at home that I did, a lot of watercolor, stuff that was easier for me to use rather than larger format things. It was really any canvas that would fit right on my tray. So that's where I really developed my love for the arts, the fine arts. And as I again grew older and went to high school, I took an elective course. I went to Gardens High School, Palm Beach Gardens High School, and their TV and video magnet. I thought that again, with the Jerry Lewis telethon, I thought, hey, maybe I can be involved in radio or TV and editing or behind the scenes. And really in high school, I took an elective called Commercial Art Design, which back then was what they called graphic design. And I found out that I could create using a computer. And once I figured that out, the whole world kind of changed, because I was no longer limited by my physical deficiencies. I was able to create just like anybody else. So that's when I really knew I wanted to make a living from art. Even in high school, I had my own company doing freelance work, a lot of local print shops, logo design, web design, the whole 9 yards. So I graduated from high school and wanted to get an actual Bachelor of Fine Arts, and ended up going to a small private school in Boca called DMAC, Digital Media Arts College. They're now part of Lynn University. And there I was just committed to do the best that I could possibly do. And I use these terms interchangeably, but it's commitment, hustle, and drive. To me, those are all kind of in the same group. And for me, in college, while everybody else was out partying, I was there, making my portfolio better and working on different projects and doing everything I possibly could to be committed to my craft. And through that, not only did I graduate valedictorian, but I was offered a job right out of college, and it was from one of my professors actually, and it shows that if you're committed, you never know where the opportunity might come from, but it's there, and that was proof of that. So right out of college, I started working as a senior designer for an ad agency in Boca. Again, my professor owned it, gave me a job, and I was there for about 2 years. It was a great paying job. I loved who I worked with, but I started to get really burned out. And I know a lot of you creatives can, attest to the client is not always right. And that, over time, that really was kind of soul sucking. And and so I made the hard decision to change paths. And you can be committed to something, but you still have to love what you do. And for me, it was a hard decision that I had to make, and I ended up just quitting. I gave my 2 weeks notice and wanted to pursue my fine art full time. And again, it was a change of direction, and I've been committed my whole life to working in an agency and living that life. And once I got there, I realized it really wasn't everything that I hoped it would be. So with that, I quit, and I said, I'm going to be a professional artist. And everybody laughed at me, and it was, I was, the term starving artist is true, but I was determined to not let that be the case. And I started doing different art shows, Artie Gras, Sunfest, all the local art shows. And I have a video that I'm going to play for you now, and it was it's right around the time that I quit and started to pursue art full time, and then I'll pick up where that leaves off. So, my name is AJ Brockman, and I am a digital painter. Digital painting itself and has been around for a while, but it's been in different, arenas like concept art and architectural drawings and stuff like that. So I'm kind of bringing it to the next level in the fine art aspect. I started in art because I love it. I have a passion for it. When I was younger, I would paint traditionally, use the paintbrush and acrylics just like any other artist would. And as my disease progressed, I began to use the use of my hands and was forced to transfer into more of a digital medium. I was fortunate enough to develop and understand how to use a computer and computer software to my advantages early on, and that's kind of how it started.
What I wanted to show you today, AJ, is a couple of pieces that are produced from our ceramic facility at the Lighthouse Art Center. And this first one thing that is one of my favorites is noticing artists who are blossoming, who are coming into their own in art. And one such person is A.J. Brockman. When one of his works was first submitted to a call for artists called Contempo last year, I noticed it was a very interesting, completely something that a technique that I really hadn't seen before. And I thought that before I met the young man. Once I met him, I realized what a truly exceptional human being he is. And I've seen his career really take off.
I paint with my left hand, but more specifically, I only paint with one finger on my left hand. I really only have, 2 or 3 inches range of motion, left to right and up and down, and that's it right there. And I'm able to use the mouse pad to do the brush strokes. And I always say that if J-Lo is going to insure her butt for $1 million, I should insure my hand for $1 million, because it's definitely my $1 million finger.
takes an awful lot to take care of AJ. And it takes even more to be able to help AJ be the artist that he's becoming or become. And what I mean by that is that there's always been a certain aspect of care that he's needed. His vision is there, and he gives me the direction to get that finger in the right spot on that glide plate so that he can create what he needs to create, so that he's not fatigued, so that he can do it over and over and over again until he gets the piece that he wants. Putting his foot up, just doing everything that needs to be done to help him be the creative artist that he's become.
How are you guys? Yeah. Yeah, thank you, yeah. Good morning. We're here at the Palm Beach Gardens Green Market today, and I try to do at least one show every week, and today's the day. So this show is super important to me because it happens to be my hometown, and I get to see a lot of my friends and fans and people that I've grown up with, so it's going to be a great show and a great day. The bigger one is more 4 to 5, so yeah, thank you so much. I know, I wish, right? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, all done on the computer. I do it all. Getting out and doing shows is not only important, but it's kind of cool in respects to what I'm doing. You know, I'm introducing people that maybe have never seen or even heard of digital painting or creating artwork on the computer, you know, aside from digital photography. And I'm kind of bringing that to a new audience and opening people's eyes to that. And people, when they look at me, their first impression is that I couldn't create stuff like this, or, you know, they don't even know that I'm the artist. But opening their eyes to this and really showing them how it's done, that my finger is, you know, essentially the paintbrush to a traditional medium. You know, that's how it works, and it's really cool to see people when they get it. My subject matter has a wide range of things, people, objects. I don't limit myself to a certain genre or a certain subject matter. Some of it is stuff that I wish maybe I could experience myself, that in real life I couldn't do because of physical limitations. So maybe I want to paint that out. Zoom in here. I'll work on the eye a little more. Let's see. Go ahead and start fleshing out the eye a little better. There's really not a lot of other digital painters out there right now, especially representing their work as fine art. So I really draw on more traditional medium, and guys like, you know, Malcolm Farley here does some great action portraiture, and really enjoy his work. And David Ewell, one of the premier Harley-Davidson artists, does some really great stuff. I love his old style and vintage atmosphere. And even guys like Jeff Finley and everybody over at Go Media, they're doing some really great work, and they're designers. So I draw inspiration from all kinds of different media. One thing that I'm super excited about is the opportunity to work with the city of West Palm Beach. I have an upcoming deal where my artwork's going to be in multiple city locations and very accessible to the public. And it's super exciting because it can bring digital painting and my technique to a whole new audience.
Settings for exposure to great art are as important. You know, that backdrop is just as important in really fully appreciating the artwork. So I want to be able to do it justice by putting it in, you know, the greatest space that we have. And I think we'll be able to come up with something that Mr. Brockman is going to be happy with and will say yes to. Well, I'm showing AJ where I want to have him put a show together and have him work with us to do something pretty special between here and the pavilion, the nighttime things down there. It still is astonishing to me to look at work that you think is a real picture or you think is a real painting, and to understand, you know, that there's actual science that can trick the eye. I mean, I'm excited about that.
I'm not a very religious person, but I think that, you know, we more along the lines of fate. You know, like I've been given this hand in life, and it's, you know, I have so many drawbacks in certain areas, but I still have my one finger, and you know, I use that because that's really all I have left, and I'm able to exploit that to still create and do what I want to do. And you know, I feel fortunate that I at least have that finger to still work with. And when the day comes where I don't have my finger anymore, where my disease progresses to where I can't do what I'm doing now, then you know, I'll move on to the next step and see where this goes. Thank you very much. So, yeah, that kind of brings you up to speed on my life progress. After this video was shot, this was shot just over about 7 years ago now. It's crazy to think of that. But yeah, so after this video, again, I kept doing art shows, was really involved with Sunfest, all the Howard Allen events, and I met this man at one of my art shows that was an art dealer and a manager, and just like a musician would have an agent or a manager, this guy offered to be my manager and get my art in front of a bigger audience and help me grow. And one thing I thought to myself was, all right, if I have help from somebody and I could get my art in front of anybody in the whole world, who would it be? And what came to mind was the leader of the free world. I said, I want to get my art in front of the president, and regardless of your political views or whatever, it was getting in front of the president. So I committed literally 6 months of daily work to create a portrait of the first family, and I had no idea if I was ever going to meet President Obama at the time. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to have the first family portrait that had their dog Bo in it, and so again, I spent this time making this portrait the best that I could possibly be, and in the back of my head I knew if I did this and it came out the way that I thought it would, that there would be no reason I couldn't get in front of him. So long story short, in 2012, when Obama was re-campaigning for his re-election, one thing led to another. I worked with a local congressman, and I got a digital proof of my work to the right people, and they said, all right, here, we love it, we're going to make it happen, you're going to meet him, and everything was said to happen at the convention center at West Palm, and we got there bright and early again one morning, and the Secret Service had no idea who I was, and they're like, who is this guy? And the lines got crossed, and they're like, you know, we have no idea, sorry, but you know, it's not going to happen. So I went home that night, and I was bummed out, but I said, hey, you know, at least I did the best that I could. And literally, I got an email within 24 hours that said, you know, our bad. we didn't get it to the right people, but now we are, and Obama will be back in about 2 weeks in Delray at the Delray Tennis Center, again, doing a rally. And that morning, I brought everything, brought the painting again, and was actually able to meet President Obama and personally give him the original of my portrait. And, you know, again, regardless of your political views, he was a very down-to-earth guy, and that was really the pinnacle of my art career. And then that evening, Damon Winter, who is one of the premier New York Times photographers, took a picture of the portrait getting loaded on the Air Force One, and that picture actually made it to the top 12 images of 2012 by the New York Times. So yeah, that was really a special moment, and was something that again brought me to a whole new level. And all while this was going on, my ultimate goal was to have my own brick and mortar gallery. And like I said earlier, it's the starving artist is the truth. I mean, it's very difficult to make a living from your art. And I had been brainstorming with this idea of the Brewhouse Gallery, and what it was an artist co-op, but I didn't want to do it like every other artist co-op. And I had been involved in galleries and art shows, and it's a lot of work, it's expensive, and the return just wasn't really there. So as a working artist, I came up with this idea of why not have an artist gallery where rather than taking a commission, because some high-end galleries, they take up to 80 or 60% of the actual cost of your painting. So by the time you pay for material and your time, you're making nothing and the gallery's making everything. So I know I didn't want to do that for the artist's sake, but I also had to keep my doors open, and that's where the craft beer came in, because beer and pizza are like the best profit margins. And I wasn't gonna open a pizzeria, so that's how that all came together. And from experience in my art shows, whenever the art show had beer and you had a few, you really liked the painting on the wall. So it came together as kind of a perfect storm. And again, we're one of the only galleries that operate the way that we do. You pay a low monthly fee to be on the wall, and then you get 100% of your sales. So as an artist, it works out for them. As for us, it helps us reduce our overhead. And I mean, a typical art gallery maybe has 400 people in an entire month. We get that in 1 week. So it's the exposure is much better for the artists. And so we bit the bullet. Me and Mom, it's a family-owned business. We found the city of Lake Park, forgotten little town, and the space next door, which was Brewhouse Gallery. And I opened with a bunch of my artist friends. I said, hey, if you're going to pay $400 for a art show, how about you give me $400 and you can be up for 3 months and we'll give it a go. So I opened, just on a whim, and one thing led to another, and within 1 year we actually expanded to the convenience store that was what was a convenience store next door to us, and added 40 taps, all craft beer, and the rest is kind of history with Brewhouse. And as we became successful, the landlord of the whole plaza didn't really want to be a landlord anymore, and she saw what we were doing at Brewhouse and really believed in the vision that I had and that we were bringing back. And again, fate intervened, and she offered to sell the entire plaza to us. And through the grapevine, we had heard some investors were going to come in and tear the theater down and add more retail, and there was just so much character here in history that we didn't want to see that happen. So my brother got involved. He's a financial backer, and we ended up purchasing the whole plaza in 2016. And with that came where you all are here today, the Kelsey Theater. And it used to be called the Kelsey Club, and everybody says Kelsey. Where does that name come from? Well, Lake Park used to be Kelsey City, and Harry Kelsey was friends with MacArthur and Flagler, all the big guys, and this was the place to be back in the 20s and 30s. So we had an homage to that, brought back, it used to be the Kelsey Club as well, a hardcore venue back in the early 2000s, and it became, after that, it was a movie theater for a while, and so we wanted to do an all-arts performing center, and that's really what happened. We launched the Indiegogo campaign and raised almost $50,000 of all community funds to bring this back. So with all of that, we started Kelsey Cares, which is our nonprofit arm, and I'm going to show one more quick video that brings you up to date on that, and then we'll wrap it up. All right? My name is AJ Brockman. I am the owner here at the Brewhouse Gallery, the Kelsey Theater, and then ultimately the Lake Park Arts District. From day one, I said, man, we could really make this into something special. So in 2014, we opened Brewhouse, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. We were busy from day one, and we're an art gallery, but we're also a craft beer bar. Everybody thinks brew stands for beer, but really it's about brewing ideas and brewing creativity. We were here at Brewhouse for about 2 years. we expanded even here into the cave side, which is where we added about 40 craft beers on tap. And then the landlord that was the landlord here really didn't want to be a landlord anymore. She was a patron of the arts and just really believed in what we were doing, and that we kind of became the anchor of the whole plaza. In 2016, we took ownership of the whole city block, 700 Park Avenue, and that's when we started lobbying with the town on bringing the theater back next door. We were able to raise almost $50,000 just from contributions like this, and really turn the theater into a national music venue. And now the next step in all that is Kelsey Cares. Kelsey Cares is a 501c3. We finally got our official approval last year, and that's been the biggest project now. And our mission is to help underwrite artists in all assets, whether they're performing artists, visual artists, artists with disabilities. We've done a lot in the community to underwrite programs for them so that they can get involved without any financial barriers. And the huge part of that is our yearly mural project, the Back Alley Mural Fest. We've painted over 900 feet of wall space now, and it's one of the largest continuous murals in South Florida. All that's been funded without any government grants. It's all people like you that donate to the cause, and we feel it's really important to pay our artists. A lot of projects will ask artists to do work for free, but we feel it's extremely important to support our local artists, and really that's one of the big parts of our mission as well. So all the money raised goes directly to them as well as other local businesses. We get all of our paint from the local Eagle Art store that's been here for 30 years. So all the money stays in our community, and again, it's just a great relationship that we have. You can donate directly at kelseycares.org or right here on the Indiegogo page. We have a lot of killer perks. We just finished our brick project, actually. We have a commemorative brick that goes right outside Kelsey Theater, and you can be a part of the Lake Park Arts District forever. For the higher levels, you could actually sit with us and design one of the murals that we end up painting. So a lot of cool stuff, and even if you can only give a few bucks or help share the message, that's really what matters, and every little bit helps. 20 bucks here, 30 bucks there, it adds up and will help us do more of these projects in the future. So that was our Indiegogo video. We're really big on crowdfunding. Again, in the video you heard it a little bit. We pride ourselves. We haven't had any government grants. Everything that we've done with the theater and in the alley that has to do with the arts has been funded by our community. And again, I think community and commitment really go hand in hand as well. And that's really why we have been successful here. Again, I just want to kind of wrap up. I know we're running out of time. We're going to do some questions. But, I think that one of the quotes that I found really can sum it up really well. So this is by Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. When you're surrounded by people who share a passionate commitment around a common purpose, anything is possible. And I really feel like that's true, and we're proof in that. I mean, I have built a team that is as passionate about the arts, about what we're doing, that shares in my vision, and to have a team, whether it be, my mom or any of my employees, it really helps drive that, and that's really what keeps me going every day, knowing what we've created here and what we've started from really helps drive that. And it's about building a team. Like I said, my mom couldn't do it without her. I think maybe sometimes she wishes she would say no more often, but we made it work, and we bit off a lot here, and it's been quite the undertaking. But the community has been amazing. We've built something here. It's not another tiki bar. It's not another South Florida, pop-up bar. It's a real community of artists, and really, I do it a lot, but we compare ourselves to Wynwood down in Miami. That started as, the ghetto, and the arts came in and really, brought everything up, and now, you can't afford rent there. So it's really that model of bringing in the arts, and all the creatives in the room understand where I'm coming from, and, I think that again, was something that sets us apart from everybody else. We're trying to do it authentically, from a grassroots effort, not superficially. So, and again, I think you have to find commitment within yourself. Commitment, drive, that's something that you can't really teach someone. So you have to find what you're passionate about. And for me, that's what it was. As cliche as it sounds, find something that you enjoy and you never work a day in your life. And really, the commitment part of that is huge because, we're not millionaires. We're not making a bunch of money. It may look like that on the outside, but we're in it supporting a community, supporting our artists, and really, at the end of the day, you do it because you love it. And if you can find something in life that fits that for you, whatever it may be, maybe it's investment banking, who knows? But if it's something that you truly love, then the commitment's a lot easier to keep. So that really much kind of wraps it up. And I know I want to leave you all with this: is we all have our struggles, and mine might be a little more physically apparent, but it's about how you how you live your life and how you make a difference in this world. So I hope you all can leave with that and really move forward and do what you can to make an impact. So thank you all. We're going to do some questions.